You built a heck of an intro, Mr. Phil. That was pretty nice, dude.
Cool. I didn't even see it. I was just I got snagged by a headline that said something about Trump and Murkowski, and
Uh-oh.
I got to be careful with Murkowski because I don't know about you, but the day after the election, I didn't go anywhere near any of those senators' offices.
Oh
Um,
no. No, 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 no. No, that sounded like a terrible plan.
um, yeah, so basically, news stations are acting like there's an update, but there's no update. This is the same old information. So, as
Yeah.
usual, old Murky makes about 5 to 6% of the vote just show up in the middle of the night, which
Yeah.
once again happened, but I'm not. It sounds like it's possibly not enough to pull it out. We're neck and neck here,
Nice.
neck and neck between the Democrat Murkowski and the Republican Kelly Chewbacca,
Okay.
except it's spelled with a T.
Chewbacca says she's tribal, native.
It's Chewbacca, and
Chewbacca.
she is absolutely not native
Oh,
or
okay.
from here, which
Well,
is they probably a lot of Alaskans,
I have a
not
new
from here.
t-shirt. I have a new t-shirt that is only $8 on TriStar Trading Company. They're running a big $12 or big $8 sale. So I like those guys.
Okay.
I support them. So there you go. Not a sponsor, but I like them a whole bunch. I got this
Sponsored.
one. I got a the TriStar logo one, and I got one that says all taxation is theft.
Well, that's true, but yeah.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
On
So
the other hand, I don't want to actually pay police officers out of my own pocket directly,
sure,
uh, nor do I want to have to pony up every time a road needs to be built. So I'm willing to allow a certain amount of taxation.
I'm willing to allow a certain amount of them, but they're still theft. Because the government should be generating its own funds
It shouldn't be done under threat,
via
other than
smart
if you don't like it.
dealings with foreign
GTFO.
nations.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, if you're watching
election,
this, is a
yep,
pre-recorded live,
pre-recorded
and
live. We do have a live
the
studio
election
audience
is
that can
happening.
only hear what I have to say tonight. So
Oh, that's cool.
my friend is in the studio, um, and but we couldn't get him set up to where he had headphones. So he has nothing. He gets to hear me, and that's about it. So,
Right.
but anyway,
I don't have really
we are the Prep Pastors Podcast. We didn't really do a very good intro there, but besides our awesome intro, where
We
we
just
didn't
did a
say
really
hello.
flashy intro. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
We did. It was a great intro. It's way better than the
Well,
outro. So the intro was made by that guy, and the
yeah.
outro is made by this guy. So I mean, it's just yeah.
You know how it is when you're pushing a cart and you look over and there's another dude pushing a cart and you know that you're both headed for the checkout. So this quiet little race happens.
Yeah,
That's how the intro and outro happen. Is you and
that's
I
true. We did it
were
together. We did it
co-creating at
together separately.
the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So we have some of
And
the same
pretty soon it was obvious
influences.
between the not listening and not answering right away and delayed responses that there was a slight contest going on to see who was going to finish first.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And
And we finished.
I think my laziness won.
You possibly won.
I
I
possibly
don't
won.
remember. I think I was still rendering and you were like, all right, done. Yeah.
All right, done.
So I think I was still rendering.
So let's just dive into this week. We've got some craziness
Some
going
people
on.
voted. Something like 15% of the country voted.
Well,
So
I've got even less respect for the state of Oregon than I had before this week because
that wasn't
and
possible for me. So
well, it was possible for me because like even the people that want to bitch and moan and cry and complain didn't show up to vote. 35% of the population voted.
35% is a good turnout in Oregon.
But it's still abysmal. Like it's still civically
Well, let's put it this way.
irresponsible.
35% of the registered voters in Oregon had their votes counted so far.
That's true. That is true.
Because let's be honest, if you
And
come from 3/4 of Oregon, your votes get lost along the way.
your votes get lost along the way. Well, no, not
Along the side
necessarily.
road near Bend.
I
They're out
think
near Sisters. They get dumped into the volcano.
I
Like,
think more likely they accidentally find extras in Multnomah County than they
well,
dump anybody's.
that's what I was going to say. Not to worry, conservative counties. Multnomah will find because they typically vote at about 160% of their registered rate.
Exactly. So wonderful. So wonderful.
And
So
it's nothing
anyway,
new. They've been doing it for decades.
there was no red wave. It was like a red puddle, like a red loogie, right?
Um,
No
and I
red
have
wave.
some thoughts on that. What is your, if you had to sum that into like a couple of sentences, what would you say? What's the primary reason for that?
You're not gonna
What
like
would,
my response. You're not gonna like my
I
reason.
don't know. I don't know if you're
I
going to like
think
mine either. What
I
do you
think
think?
Trump. I think Trump's the reason. I think that every politician that he backed got dumped.
I've heard a couple.
I think he's an
Heard a couple
absolute
of those.
albatross.
I've
I
heard a
think he's an
couple of those.
absolute. Yeah, he's an absolute albatross.
Yeah.
But at the
I
same
don't
time,
necessarily disagree.
I think that more likely than that, it has to do with the fact that or I think that Oregon has perfected election fraud.
No, no, no. I'm
And
saying as a whole, as a
yeah,
country,
right.
what
Why was
and
there
you're
not a
not
red
off,
wave? Why
right?
was
You're
there not
not
a red
off.
wave? I think that
I don't agree that it's 100% Trump's fault. I
no,
don't think he's blameless at all. His little shenanigans with Ron DeSantis, like the day before elections, was
absolute
beyond
foolishness.
stupid and
Absolute
uncalled for.
foolishness. Yeah.
Um,
Ron
but
DeSantis
I
would
will
be
say this.
100 times the president he was.
Oh, of course, and probably still will be.
Yeah. I hope.
Although we've heard from Ron directly, like, "Hey, I'm getting a lot of shit done here.
Yeah.
Why would I go there where I can't?"
I
You know,
did love the Ron DeSantis quote from the debates with is it Christie? The guy he was running. I gotta fly on camera. It's making me
oh
crazy.
no,
Anyway,
yeah.
but the quote is something like the guy was like, "Will you today in front of everyone commit to serving the people of Florida for 4 years and not jumping into the presidential election?" And he's like he just looks at the moderator and goes, "I didn't think we were supposed to be addressing each other. Like I'm not supposed to talk to him." And then he goes, "But it seems like so and so is really really obsessed with 2024. And let me just make it clear: the only addled elderly Democrat that I or addled elderly donkey that I plan on dealing with handily is Christie, Senator Christie." It was awesome. Like he just like just backhanded him right in the head. It was great.
So here's what I would wish, and I've started to hear this start to come up now. So I wish that we had recorded this last week because I sort of talked about this when it comes to Carrie Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie Lake, did we talk about her last week or was that off air? I don't
Just
remember.
barely. I think it was mostly off
So
air.
Carrie Lake has been a practically lifelong Democrat who's all of a sudden become conservative.
Right.
She is not a hard mainline conservative when it comes to conservative issues in our country. I think she's great for the market she's running in, and again, I don't really have problems with her per se, but the Oz Fetterman, right? The Oz thing that is much easier to point out in the problems.
Yeah.
The man is not from the area.
No.
He is not a lifelong conservative.
No.
He's very anti-Second Amendment and pro-abortion. And as long as
he's in.
Republicans continue to run those idiots,
Yeah.
they can't be surprised when people don't show up. So I would actually say people are not voting because I'm not going to vote for evil,
Yeah.
but I'm also not going to vote for another guy just because you idiots put an R next to his name.
Right.
I
I
will
mean,
flat
like,
out write somebody in or not vote. And
and
that
he
is
is a
exactly
lying
what
snake
in the
oil
poll.
salesman. Dr. Oz is a
Oh, he's
lying
an
snake oil
idiot.
salesman.
Yeah,
He's
friends
been
with Oprah, like,
well, not
come on.
anymore. Oprah did
Yeah,
not
well,
endorse
he will
him.
be next week.
Yeah.
And just like the Clintons, and just like Trump, and that's my concern from, we talked about this 6 or 7 years ago when Trump first started poking his head out or whatever that was. And we said, look, he is a New York businessman.
Yeah.
And he brings a lot of good things. And I think we will see some prosperity in our country because of him running like a business, expecting profits, right?
Yeah.
But don't ever be confused. He is not pro Second Amendment. He is not anti-abortion historically. Now, turns out he did come out as very anti-abortion, and
Very,
whether he
very,
was serving
yeah.
to his base or, as you and I discussed, is his
You mean
Christian
serving his
conversion,
constituents?
professed Christian conversion, genuine? You and I
Maybe.
had a real struggle. We're like, well, there comes a point where what you're saying and what you're doing is lining up. Then there's some fruit.
Correct.
All right. It was enough for us to say, well, there's enough fruit that maybe we don't know, and we're going to believe the best.
Correct. No,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely right. No, that's
but
100%. But hey, can I back up really quickly because I didn't want to
go ahead.
interrupt your thought. I want to
Go ahead.
just correct you on Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake is a lifelong Republican who then registered as a Democrat for 2 years and as an independent for 2 years, and then, or I'm sorry, registered as an independent for 2 years,
She
a Democrat for 2 years, and then came back to the Republican Party.
she voted for Obama and admitted that recently.
She did vote for Obama. And that was Obama was
Right.
actually why she went to the
And
Democratic
she
Party
is
for
a
2 years.
Republican. Like I would point out to you that Lisa Murkowski has officially been a Republican her entire life.
Right, there you go. There you go.
Take that as you will. And in Alaska, yet another baggage, which is a big name in Alaska, has screwed us. We now call him Nick Ross Perot Begich,
Oh,
because we are going to lose to a Democrat because our Republican vote was split, because a non-Republican running as a Republican
that's right.
split the vote, which
Yeah.
is an old hat trick.
Oh,
The
it's
Democrats have
terrible.
been doing that for forever. They do that in Oregon until they no longer needed to, till there's like not even a Republican on the ticket to vote for.
Yeah.
Or if there is, it's you'd never heard of the guy. I think maybe he's like the city treasurer. Like
Yep.
who knows? Um, the politics in our country are so broken. I'd hate to say that the Democrats are organized because they're not. They fight within themselves. They shoot each other in the back. Like they're not a well organized, but they are united in their evilness.
That
And
is
that's
true.
the thing about people who are willing to vote for a Democrat. One, probably have compromised their faith. I'm not going to throw that 100%, but I'll say 99% have compromised their faith in
Yeah, I'll
voting
go
for a
that way.
Democrat.
I'd agree.
But
Well, then,
two, Democrats will vote for evil. Republicans and conservatives will vote for no one instead of voting for evil.
right.
So it's not that they aren't all evil or, there's less evil, whatever. A lot of conservatives these days will no longer do the lesser of two evils. And that
Correct.
is exactly what we're seeing in these polls.
Correct. That's exactly right. No,
So
that's
what do
exactly
you
right.
do right now that, so what do we as prep pastors have to say about that? I mean, you know how we feel about this. This is nothing new. And we're not saying anything new today. And I don't think there was any revolutionary things that came out of,
No, I
no
wasn't
revelation.
shocked. Jesus wasn't
This is
shocked either.
exactly what I said.
He didn't fall off
Yeah.
the throne because of because Tina Kotek got elected in Oregon. It doesn't matter.
No, but he certainly weeps and cries as all of us should be for
Absolutely.
the mutilated children and murdered babies.
Absolutely, 100%. No, I could not agree more. I will say this in the context. I think the one first thing that we've got to remember is there was not a single candidate running for office this year. None of them were Jesus. So we're not going to find any saviors. We're not going to find any, and I say this almost every election cycle. I'm a broken record, and I understand it. You're not going to find any saviors. The Messiah did not come and fit. He's not coming back when he returns. He's not coming back for our political system. He's coming
Mhm.
back with a sword in his hand, a tattoo down his leg, and the word flowing out of his mouth, and every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. So that has not happened yet. I got an amen from the live studio audience. That's pretty exciting. I
It's been a couple weeks, hasn't it? Yeah.
and if we and it, it has been, and so I think that as long as we keep that in perspective, what I'm getting sick of is the cult of patriotism, the cult of especially conservatism, is that they worship at the altar of Trump. They worship at the altar of their favorite politician, and the left is guilty of this too. I just don't really care about them.
Gonna run into
You know,
exist. I know that everybody says that exists. I've not actually run into those people. So
You don't spend any time in Florida. Let's just get, it's too
hell
hot for
no.
you. It's too hot for you. But if you spend any time in the South, you would see that those people are real. Like that is just the people who worship at the altar. Listen, every
That
single
the average
politician will
diehard Trump
abandon us when
supporter
we need them
that
the
that
best.
loves him 100% and he can do no wrong, whatever, there's a gene pool problem with them. It's the same genetic, lack of brain cells that is involved with every single Democrat voter.
Right. And listen, I want to be clear. I'm not crapping on Trump. I think Trump did a
Oh,
lot
well,
of really good things that he doesn't get any credit for because of how much people hate him. Okay, like I want to be
right.
so the
They hate
keyboard
what he
warriors
says
that
and
are
how he
jumping
says
in,
it, and
they're
it
jumping into the
literally is
comment
that
section to crap down my
low.
throat. I want to make sure that neither of us are. I think he absolutely abysmally abandoned us on the Second Amendment, 100%. But we knew that he would, so it wasn't a
As I knew he
surprise.
would, as I knew
Okay,
he would. He
but I
made
think,
gains when it comes to, very important elections and appointments.
well,
I
the
don't know
biggest
if I disagree with
the
appointments that he
the
made.
biggest the biggest gains that we made was the Hermit Kingdom was silent for 5 years.
Well,
The
that
he
was not a small thing.
That was not a small thing, and now we've got them firing missiles into the ocean and launching them over Japan. So
At
that's
at
all
face
there's to
value,
it.
that seems important, and it's not unimportant, but I would say more important is how the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the, Middle Eastern countries treated us,
Yeah,
including Israel.
much much different.
Those are, for the stability of the globe, and for the financial well-being of our economy,
Yeah.
those are far more important, and he understood what those meant.
Hmm.
Right now, we have the Saudis literally laughing in our face, saying, "You guys are ruled by weakness," um,
I want to
and
know why I want to know, not even really having anything to do with Trump other than he did it. I want to know why it took 45 presidents to do a White House special investigative team to investigate missing and exploited Native children. Like the number of Native children that
I
disappear
I
and are
thought you were gonna
trafficked
talk about
every year.
the Area 51 and the aliens because he did
No,
that
no.
too.
No, 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 no. I don't know. I don't want to get into that. But the fact that he is the only president to enact a special investigative task force to get
To look
involved with
for
missing and exploited Native children, specifically girls, but children across the board. I mean, the
yeah.
fact that we had to wait 45 presidents to get that done.
Well, did any of them look at Nancy Pelosi's house in San Francisco? Because, naked little boys apparently are able to be found there, but
Well,
only when Pelosi's out of town.
only when they have hammers. But I mean, you know, I did really love, and I don't know which leftist comedian that I saw said it this week, and I wouldn't name him to give him any credit, but I did like one of them. So Donald Trump Jr. posted a picture of a pair of whitey tighties and a hammer, and was like, "Hey, I got my Paul Pelosi costume ready for Halloween." Right, and I was like, "Too soon, bro. Like that would have been funny next Halloween." Like that was just like tactless and stupid. But I loved, which I can't remember which comedian, it doesn't even matter, but they were like, "Yep, I'm pretty sure that Don Jr. knows all about getting hammered in his underwear." And I was like, "Oh, see, you
Oh,
signed up for
no.
that. You signed up for that slap in the mouth. That was not
Oh,
cool." So why are we talking about politics on the Prep Pastors podcast? Like I think ultimately I think we want to remind you, if you're watching, there were no Jesus didn't run for any offices, but ultimately this country is in what Romans refers to as the downward spiral of sin. Okay, there's no pulling up at this point. Okay, we're going to see some revivals. We're going to see people come to know Jesus in the
it's
end
not that it's
times.
not possible and God can't do it. We both
But
fully recognize that is possible, but it's not probable, and nor is it forecasted in the Bible.
exactly. And so
That's all it's saying.
inside of the conversation, you need to plan accordingly to live inside of a nation that will soon be labeled Ichabod, which is, Hebrew for the spirit of the Lord has departed. Right. And
Yeah.
so, we keep murdering babies at the rate that we're murdering babies. We keep
Promoting
uh,
politicians that do it themselves.
we keep propping up politicians that are sex trafficking little kids. We keep
And it's not
propping up,
just the politicians. We
we
keep
keep,
allowing the
yeah,
hiring of them into key
yeah.
positions even without elections.
We keep exalting celebrities over teachers
Yeah.
and nurses and
not
doctors,
leaving.
and I mean, like, come on, like the bottom line is that we are not, we're not inching toward
We're
Ichabod.
still
We
allowing
are
our
we
children to
are
go to a public school to have this indoctrinated in their face.
we are rocket boosting our way to Ichabod. Like, that's just all there is to it.
Falcon 9 dual boosters.
So the bottom line is, then, what does it look like to be prepared to be a Jesus follower inside of a nation that has been labeled the Spirit of the Lord has departed, right? So
Looks a lot more
what
like
is it?
body armor
So what did
and,
it so what did it look like for Dietrich Bonhoeffer to live inside of Germany during the Third Reich? What did it look like for Karl Barth to minister the gospel in secret seminaries in Germany during the Third Reich, right? Like, we need to start paying attention to
well,
those people.
they were training so both of those trained the leaders, right?
Right.
They trained pastors and equipped um, pastors. They took the lay people, those willing to serve sacrificially, into
Yes.
martyrdom, and they
Yes.
trained and equipped them because they were able to.
Right.
So that's one context of being pastors. So
Sure.
they train pastors to go out. What context do we put the average everybody else? I mean, we do have some pastoral listeners. We have lay people that would consider going into applied ministry in such a way.
Hmm.
Um, but I would argue is not the more broad calling of persons in those times uh, to care for, equip, hide, and help and assist those one or two leaders that are pivotal, right?
Yep.
So Bonhoeffer made it for what is it, 12 or 13 years through it, arguably longer, because he started coming
Arguably.
under pressure very early on before the Reich took power,
Yes.
because they took over key positions, including the church first, right? Um,
Yeah.
Before that, so who are the people that housed and clothed and even all the way through his imprisonment, which
Yeah.
was, do you recall that it was 3 years, 2 or 3 years in actual prison waiting to be put to
No,
death?
no, he was in a concentration camp for like 6 months, and
He
so
was
he
6 months.
actually had a really covert. He was in the German secret police, not the SS, not the Nazi secret police. He was
Yeah,
in the German secret police, which liaison, and they worked hand in hand, hand in glove with the Nazis, obviously, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
if they didn't, they got killed.
He did some
And
counter stuff. I mean,
yeah,
he was a
he did
true
some
hero.
very
Nice
counterinsurgent
stuff.
stuff. But he died on Easter Sunday morning, about 3 weeks before that concentration
Liberation.
camp was liberated.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and so, but I mean, to spend your entire ministry, he was in America. He was in Great Britain. He could
He
have
was
chosen to
before the
stay
war.
there, and he chose to go
During the
back to his
beginnings of the war.
country. Yeah,
He did.
he
Yes.
chose to go back to his country to continue fighting the Nazis, continue fighting for faith, continue preaching the gospel to a broken
Equip
nation.
others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Train and equip others to serve. So again, it took a lot of rice and beans and so, in some cases bullets
Yep.
to for him to make it as long as he did.
Yep.
Um,
Agreed.
I would say the average person is called to be a person who trains and empowers
Hmm.
those God has called to be the martyrs.
Well, and I think that we
It
are the
starts
other
there.
the so the in the back to the level of preparedness. It's like, what does it look like to get ready to live in a cashless society where they can? I was just chatting with my dear friend that's visiting about this today. What does it look like to prepare to live in a cashless society that they can just turn the money off? They can just be like, nope, sorry, your social credit score is you don't, I'm sorry, you don't get to access your funds. You don't get to go to the store because you didn't kowtow, you didn't bow down to our version. I mean,
Your
which
your post is still in review, and so you can't make any purchases until we've decided one way or the other, and you've been disciplined for.
until you retract that post, to delete that post, like what they
I
did with the
would
Babylon Bee and
I
stuff
would
like that.
go I would approach that from the same standpoint that I know you have in the past, which is as crazy as the modern times seem and as fallen as these new revelations appear, all of these things have happened before. multiple societies have had their currencies collapsed. Um,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think even with this. So if we stick even with the German example that we were on with Bonhoeffer, uh, person's ability to have cash, right? So the old Deutschmark was gone away, the gold standard was changed, and within the economy of Germany, you could only transact with the Nazi approved currency. So it really is
Correct.
similar.
Correct.
And it's it's different, but in many ways it's the same.
Hmm.
And that's where I would say it's why studying history like Bonhoeffer is so important,
Yeah.
because those things do happen again, and we can look at what successes worked and what didn't work and apply those to what's coming, what's
Yeah.
here, what arguably already started. Um,
Agreed.
and again, there are common themes throughout all the civilizations that we know of in their collapse, including going back all the way towards prehistoric times, which for us we would be, we're talking biblical now, biblical times, because there's still more biblical times than non-modern times, but
Right.
not by much. We're about halfway through.
Right.
We're almost neck and neck here, from the flood to Christ to now. It's almost the same amount of time.
Yeah, it's true.
Um, what I would say is food stability,
Yeah.
no indebtedness,
Yep.
and distance from those who wish to do you harm
Yeah.
are main concepts. They're the Maslow's hierarchy of surviving
Yeah.
an economic collapse.
Sure.
Food security, which can happen in lots of ways,
Hmm.
either producing it or already having it or knowing how to get it.
Right.
Um, your financial security, which is no indebtedness, and the ability to transact what little bit you need, which is part of the key, right? As little expenses as possible.
Right.
Those are some common themes. So you just have to look at how do you do that where you are. And if it's not possible to do where you are, we said before, better get beat feet and get moving.
Yeah.
But what we learned last week, and I would still agree with this week, election week is not the time to move. Um,
No.
you're just about in our country lost time to move unless it's close and
Yeah.
local.
Yeah.
Major changes. We're already past the point in the banking system where major changes are already flagged.
Yeah.
If you take money out in excess of $600, not only are they filing forms against you, they will ask you if you're closing your account or thinking about closing your account, what you're doing with the money. And an answer of it's none of your business, it's my money is no longer acceptable.
No, that gets flagged even worse now. Yeah.
So we're already in the times that we've been warning about. And
Right.
so if you have major moves, I think you're at a point where you need to consult with someone
Yeah.
knowledgeable in doing what you intend to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've picked your road, stick with it.
Yeah. Agreed. No, I think that's exactly right.
You can't
I've got
day
dear
trade in
friends.
survival right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I know. I think that's very, very true. I think apart from some very specific
All
instances,
exceptions, these are
there's always
generalities.
there's always exceptions,
Yeah.
that really lucrative job, that really, strategic scenario. Okay, but I think the normal people there, they need to make do where they are. I think that's
Well,
absolutely true.
I would caution the really lucrative job. If I was to pay you a million Zimbabwe dollars a month, you would look at me and say, "What's the point? What are you talking
Yeah,
about? That is
I
worthless."
can't buy a cup of soup for a million Zimbabwe dollars. Yeah, thanks.
The
Thanks though.
the
Thanks.
the gold standard is no longer based on the US dollar. The oil standard
Right.
is ceasing on being based in the US
Oh, the
dollar.
oil standard. Understand everybody what he's talking about in the context that. So there we were on the gold standard, gold silver standard, and then they removed the dollar bill from the gold standard. which means it was just backed by nothing. It's total fiat currency, meaning it's fake. It's not a real thing. It's only valuable because somebody said it was valuable. And then we migrated to the oil dollar, the petrodollar. Okay, and we negotiated a scenario with Saudi Arabia and the Middle East where basically oil would
Everyone
only be
has to use
purchased.
our US dollar. Right.
Oh yeah, only oil can only be bought and sold by the U.S. dollar. Okay, so that made
It's
our
over.
dollar backed by something. Okay,
It's
so it
over.
only takes the BRICS nations and Saudi Arabia saying the petrodollar is no longer a thing, and our financial system is
We're
gone.
we're there. So what they said is we will still allow the US dollar, but we will also accept the yen and the ruble. And
Right,
that hit quietly about a week or two
and
ago.
that's the
We've
first
been talking
step in
about it for
saying
6 or 8 months,
right.
but so we're not totally gone, but if you've noticed in the volatility and the inflation and all the other things that have happened
Yeah.
in the last couple of weeks is directly tied to the fact that they did agree to accept the Chinese yen,
Hmm.
and they have previously about 6 months ago agreed in concept to accept the ruble. And
Right.
if you'd like to know what the ceiling of the deal was, the Saudis are not shy about it. If you look at news that originates from overseas instead of
Right.
here,
Right.
you will see they very publicly said Mr. Shitty Pants came here and lied to our faces and tried to manipulate his own country's elections.
Yep.
And as such, we are now going to accept the ruble and the yen. So feel free to thank a Democrat around you. Feel
That's
free
right.
to thank them physically
No,
for
that's
what has
exactly right. So and the
happened. The
first
collapse
step,
is actively happening.
the first step in them, dissolving the petrodollar completely is allowing other dollars to purchase oil from the Middle East, and like you said, it's been quiet because the mainstream media has so backed the left, and they did not want to worsen. I mean, I really truly think
You
that
make a
apart.
run on the bank by announcing such things, right?
There it is. That's it, right there. Yeah,
That's what accelerates the collapse. So we are in financial collapse. You
correct,
can accelerate the collapse to make a total, right,
correct,
collapse
correct.
if you allow panic to happen.
Yes, yes, that's exactly right.
So
Yeah.
I know. Like I
So
was doing earlier today, I was physically handling some long-term currency. I highly suggest you get some.
yeah,
Um, I highly suggest that you not be indebted to companies that hate you or any company
yep,
um, who is
got it.
stuck in the financial system of our economy. You got to find a way because again, none of us can stand alone on this hill. None of us, there is not a secessionist party. There is not a revolutionary movement of strength right now to join.
Right. Yet,
No one is organized. Now it may come, and usually those things happen too little, too late, with great cost,
generally.
uh, and may be successful.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I know that I certainly wouldn't be scared to go up against the average U.S. serviceman today. Most of them don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, it's pretty
Anybody who is
abysmal.
anybody is gone.
Just go look at the fitness standards that have dropped. When a man like me can pass the Army Combat Fitness Standard test, like I mean that's pretty sad. It's pretty abysmal. I mean, like
Well,
I'm
you have
proud
to
that
continue lowering the standard because the jab has been required, and
right.
along with like whatever 15th booster they're on now.
Something. It's ridiculous.
Sorry, you guys did that.
I've
Like,
been
I hope you
setting on
didn't.
I've been setting on Instagram and Facebook on fire the last 2 days with a couple of my jibby jab posts.
Oh, have you? Some, yeah, I got suspended for a short amount of time on the Twitter page and then unsuspended very quickly, actually.
Oh,
So
really?
I joined Twitter the day that Mr. Musk took it over. Oh, I posted that.
Yeah, yeah.
That came from me.
I
You're
think I
welcome.
I think I don't know. I think I didn't steal it from you, but
Because I didn't steal it from you. Well, it's been making its way around. I know I put it on about 8 different social media platforms myself.
Just giving people plenty of time to read the blurry text because I don't want to read it out loud.
Oh, I
I
don't
want to
know.
be on.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I also shot some footage. I got some live on the scene
Good.
footage of our politicians this week
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Here you go.
Oh, look one. Yeah.
That's a cute one though. They're most of them aren't this cute.
Yeah. Mrs. San Francisco is a lot more wrinkled than
Most of
that.
them are more like that guy.
Throwing poop. Throwing
Yeah,
poop.
yeah. So
So, yeah, and it doesn't matter even if we start to put out good candidates. It's too little, too late, quite honestly. I I don't think it's possible to pull it back. Yeah, the forgiving one. You know, you can speak to this. Let's talk about. So you and I know this is going to come up within, especially within the evangelical circles, where they say,
right.
"Well, Jesus forgives. We must always forgive." Um, here's the deal. There's a biblical model to forgiveness,
Starts with
and there's
repentance.
different levels of forgiveness.
Correct.
None of them involve someone being able to continue to do the same thing to you. None of them involve an initiating party not actually like seeking repentance or acknowledging wrong to begin with. You cannot
Yeah.
forgive someone
Who's
who's not
continuing in their
received
sin.
forgiveness or continuing in the exact same sin. Now,
Correct.
but don't hear us wrong. You can prepare your heart
Sure.
to be able to forgive. You can sow the groundwork, right? Start tilling the soil, getting ready for the
Well,
seeds of
you
forgiveness.
can and should forgive
But
people, but that doesn't mean you let them continue to wrong you. Like that's not the same thing.
it's not. And so forgive is a really broad word with lots of components to it. And yes, Jesus says to forgive. And he
Hmm.
didn't say forgive but.
No, he didn't. He didn't say forgive, but.
But there was a historical context in which the word forgiveness was used. And if
Hmm.
you'd like a full sermon, we can talk about how there are
Sure.
multiple words for forgiveness that describe the different levels and types of forgiveness.
Yes.
And we are looking at this with American eyes, with American English,
Correct.
lumping them all into one word.
Well, I think I would just take the scenario of rape, like a woman or a man for that matter who's been raped, can absolutely forgive 100% in their heart, can forgive their rapist, completely and totally. I think the best definition of forgiveness is surrendering one's right to hurt them for hurting you. Okay, I think that's the most encompassing look at what forgiveness is
Giving up
biblically. It,
on your owed justice
yeah,
is what you're
giving
describing.
up on your owed justice, absolutely, yes, 100%. But you never have to put yourself back in the position to be raped by that person again. There is no
That's
biblical
correct.
precedent. There is no reason, there is no logic in going, well, I forgave him, so I guess that means I should probably be alone,
Yeah,
you
not at all.
know,
And
with them
even
in a
within
cabin 100 miles from people. No.
right, people like to quote the turn the other cheek, right? Even though that's totally a different concept and different, but it did not give the same cheek. He didn't
Different
say
cheek.
push that cheek back in their face again.
No, nope. Different cheek. Different cheek. Turning the cheek. That doesn't just. It's not stand there and get slapped over and over again. That's
Yeah,
not what that means.
yeah.
So
And when you run out of
so
cheeks, it's time
we can
to
forgive. We
put some
can and
varnish on
we can and should forgive. Forgiveness has to do with the toxicity of hatred and the vile
there.
bitterness from growing inside of you.
Remove that from your life.
It has
Yeah,
nothing to do with your interaction toward them.
right, right. Yeah,
So, I mean, that's the bottom line of it. So when they start talking about COVID amnesty and all the bullshit that comes along with the whole like, well, we really just need to forgive. Like, dude, you let people die alone and watch their families die on FaceTime. Sorry,
yeah.
there's no deals, no deals.
I
I
know that
forgive
you
you.
personally know people, and
I
I personally know people
I
that has happened.
forgive you. In my heart of hearts, my wish for you is to come to repentance, to know Jesus, to spend eternity with me in heaven. That's forgiveness. That is at the core of
I
my
want
heart
you
for
to be
you.
able to move on with life.
you
Can't do
don't
that.
get to pour out your tyranny on the people that I love any longer. No, sorry, no,
No,
not a thing. Absolutely not a thing. I might
no.
even make the arrangements for you. Like I might even make the arrangements, like as far as like the just
Hey,
the
if
eternity,
you have
eternity.
turned your face to God, and yeah, if we are no longer worried about your salvation, well,
Hmm.
then you don't really need to be here anymore.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly right. So no. So ultimately, I mean, again, sliding us back to preparedness. Okay,
Back to
food
preparedness.
food scarce food scarcity inside of a broken economy is
It is
real. It's
real.
real. Okay,
I
you
walked around the
gotta
grocery store today.
like so why do we bother unpacking what fiat currency is? What do we why are we unpacking about what the oil standard is? Because when the American dollar dissolves into nothing, because it's already nothing. When the
It's
rest
happening.
of the world agrees that it's nothing,
Yep.
um, then and it's happening right now,
It's happening
absolutely.
right now. Other countries are scrambling to figure out what to do with all their US dollars
So
and
do
what
you want
to
to buy? Do you want to buy rice and beans with today's dollar or tomorrow's dollar? Do you want to buy long-term food stuff with today's dollar that still has a little bit of power, it still has a little juice, it's a little less powerful than it was, it's a little
right.
less juice than it
It's
was,
everyday work.
or do you want to try to buy it when it is toilet paper? Just look at Venezuela. Look at every other country. Listen, nowhere in history, nowhere in history can you illustrate a fiat currency that has stood the test of time. They all collapse, and they all collapse shortly after the 200-year mark. Okay. And our country's knocking on the door of 250, right? Our fiat currency has been around for, well, some would argue for about 100 years. Really, it went full fiat, what, 50, 60 years ago? When did they drop the gold standard, Mike? When did they drop the gold standard?
It was during Nixon.
Nixon, right? Nixon. That's right. Yeah, Nixon. So Nixon finally put the nail in the coffin for the gold standard,
I
and
want
it
to
had
say
and it had been
65, 66, somewhere in there.
reduced by before then. Okay, so like it's happening. Okay, so we bring this up not to be doom and gloomers. We don't bring this up so that you can go
Well,
run in fear. We don't
I
go
don't
rack
think
up
you
your
can
credit card bill
even the
buying
argument
groceries.
of you'll get less rice or whatever. My main argument is these other countries that make the rice are not going to sell us the rice. There isn't going to be any rice to buy, no matter how many worthless
Right.
dollars you have.
Yeah, that's a great point. There isn't going to be any
And
rice because we don't grow rice in
right.
America. Yeah,
Well, we do,
exactly.
but yeah,
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 not
yeah,
much.
yeah.
That much. So,
Uh,
so the bottom line is do you want to buy long-term
India's back on the
groceries?
gold standard.
I was loving
India's
it. My wife came in with a 30-pound bag of powdered sugar the other day. It's like, why do we need powdered sugar? It was $3. I saw it at the discount grocery store. It's $3. We're gonna
and
have
that's the
powdered
only
sugar
stuff
for
I'm
the
buying right
rest of
now.
our lives. Like, I mean, it's
Probably, yeah,
like, I mean, so it's like, okay, I'll go get some food grade buckets. We're gonna pack up that powdered sugar before the mice get into it. Done.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
the only stuff I'm really buying. I know you're retooling a little bit. I'm not in a spot to retool. Um, but we're not going out and actively sieging. I'm trying to replace stuff as I can, but I'm already eating through my preps. I'm
right,
solidly in survival mode already.
right, right.
And I would say the majority of you should be also.
No, I think that's true.
Place what you can, keep your eye out. Absolutely buy the $3, 40-pound bags of sugar when you see it.
Yeah.
That
So
that's
I'm
the
like,
mode you're in.
I don't eat most of everybody that's watching the show knows that been on a weight loss journey. I'm actually celebrating 2 years this week. And 2 year weight loss journey. So I don't eat a lot of rice. I'm using rice as an illustration because it's a staple and it's usually pretty affordable. Okay. So I don't eat a lot of rice, but let me just say I'm a rice snob. Okay. Like I like
Mm.
basmati rice, and that's
Mhm.
about it. I'm a basmati guy. I like it. If I'm gonna eat a spoonful of rice, which is really not good for me. But like, I mean, when it comes down to eat a bowl of rice or starve to death, guess what? I'll eat some rice. Okay. And at that point, I won't be worrying about
Great
weight loss.
mechanism
Right.
for soaking up other things, right?
There you
You cook
go.
it in cook it in broth. You add it as a bit of
Yeah.
a filler to help your
Hey,
body
if I can put
process
enough
your
if I
jambalaya.
can put enough of it away, I'll feed it to a pig
Animal.
and turn it into bacon. Like I this
Nearly every
the
dog food
God
has
made
rice.
God made a magical creature that takes food that I don't like and shouldn't eat and turns it into bacon. Like it's awesome. So
Right.
there's this I can hit my bacon with rocks. Like like right now, if I had a rock and the window was open,
Where's
I
the
could hit
bacon?
my bacon with rocks. It's just happens to just be wandering around in the backyard. So bottom line is, do you want to try to buy food today with today's dollars, or do you want to buy food in, you know, 3 months from now's dollars? Because you don't know what that's going to look like. So rice. So I just like I was at Costco the other day, and basically my goal right now is every time I walk into Costco, I want to buy a bulk food item. So I bought a big, like a 20-pound bag of basmati rice. That's not a big bag of rice. 20 pounds is not a
No,
lot of rice.
no, no.
You can buy 50-pound bags of rice. They just didn't have
Like
50
1
pound
month for
bags.
a family of 4.
Yeah, they just didn't have
20
a
pounds.
50-pound bag of basmati. So I was like, well, I'm going to buy basmati because that's what I like. You know, I know people that if they go to Costco, they always buy a flat of something, a flat of spaghetti sauce, a flat of canned vegetables, a flat of Spam, something that's not on their list that they don't need right now that can go in the closet. Just buy one. You
That's a good
know,
way to limp in.
it's a good way to limp in.
Yeah.
It's a good way to limp in.
Very
I mean, like,
portable, you'd barely notice it financially.
I'd like to
I did
see
that for a long
everybody.
time when money was super tight. I got a case of, like, 6 cans of the corned beef, which was like $40, right?
Right.
A little bit at a time, just do what you can. It's a great way to get started. I think what you need to be looking at right now, though, is I would urge people that is a very personal thing that is locational.
Yeah.
What can you grow there? What do people around you grow, and
There you
get
go.
something else, or make sure you have the means to do that? But you're going to be able to trade with neighbors. You're going to be able to get your starts going, get your whatever going. It's not the end of the world when it comes to that stuff yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if there's
Yeah.
something you need for medicine,
Yeah.
you'd better get it now.
Correct.
There's something that you like. For me, tomatoes are not a big Alaska thing. They're hard to grow here. We don't get good ones here.
Yeah. If you
So
don't
the
have
one
a hot
canned
house.
food that I buy tons of is tomatoes. So if I
Right.
see canned tomatoes on sale, I buy all they have,
Yeah.
and they last virtually forever when stored
Right.
properly.
Correct.
They're heavy. Like, if I have to bug out, that's going to suck. I'm going to leave a whole lot of tomatoes, but hopefully I don't have to do that. Right. And the next
Right.
concept I wanted to explain too. So we talk a lot about bugging in, don't bug out.
Right.
That's important. But the hurricane should show everybody that,
Yeah.
and tornadoes in Oklahoma this last week, right? Bear Independence been big about that. If you watch his channel on the ground, I think we lost your sound.
Yeah, we did. I'll be back in just 1 second. There's somebody else's headphones jumped into the system, so hold on just 1 second.
Oh, fun. So, anyway, are we still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay, well, I keep talking. So if you're watching this after the fact, we're not going to edit that out.
No.
What you need to be paying attention to is exactly what we're saying. Buy what you can't get later, but you think you might need. That's the stuff that if you don't have something now that you think you would need. We started this podcast by reading apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic, and apocalyptic books because
Correct.
they're thought experiments into what's happening. They're thought experiments to what might happen, and it's good to take different perspectives on that. Boyd Craven has one perspective, and it's good and it's well
Yeah.
researched. He's
Super
one
good.
of the way better authors to read when it comes to this, and even within his own a library of books he's written, he's analyzed multiple different scenarios. There's some recurring themes, but good person to listen to. Boyd Craven is a really good one to think about for your thought experiments. You need to be analyzing what to do, but we're kind of a little late to start reading dozens of books.
Yeah.
We kind of
I
need
would
to get
say
to the story today.
I would say if you get through a bunch of Goodwin stuff and you were looking for some other flavor, or I'm sorry, you get through a bunch of Craven stuff,
We love good ones.
and
Yeah.
you're looking for some other flavors, I think that absolutely take a look at Mark Goodwin.
Mark
I
Goodwin
think
is excellent for beginners.
really
And
good.
if you profess to be a follower of Christ, you will like Goodwin.
You will like Goodwin. I would say that if you wanted a beginner series to jump into, that's like going to give you like a
Y'all
really
recommend
ground floor up from there, that's Goodwin is going to be a really good one to go with. The other one that I just read, you can get all four books, is a Frank Horton series called Locker Nine.
I've heard of that.
If you got
I
kids
have
off at
one.
school and you don't know how you're going to get them home, after SHTF, I would highly recommend at least reading book one of Locker Nine, because prepping for you and prepping for your kid that's off at college is going to look very, very different. And, you know, and so, so yeah, like in the story, the dad spent copious amounts of time, talent, and treasure putting together a storage unit for his daughter in the town, you know, just minutes from her dorm, and she was
Is
able to
that the one
complete.
where he put the note under the bed and said, if anything ever goes wrong, open this or look under your bed?
Yeah, yeah,
And
basically, and then
he
and then
hid
the
a
notes
gun in
like
the dorm room?
go do,
Or is
yeah,
that a
go
different?
do. I don't think it was a note under the bed. I
It's a
think she
different one.
always,
So
she had a
similar.
key. So she had a key around her neck that had GPS coordinates lat long,
And she never,
and
yeah,
and
that's
then
a,
and then the other side of the key said Locker Nine.
yeah,
And so she and dad was like, if anything ever happens, go to where the key tells you to go.
that's great. I'm going to
And
that.
so she, you know, and so then there was enough fuel stockpiled to get her home, enough,
Yeah.
you know,
A
defensive
vehicle that
weaponry to
works
get her home.
independently.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
Here's a free one right now.
Oh,
You
free,
may
free's
write
good.
this one down. So if you're on Audible, right, there's a bunch of books that are basically free for you to listen to. And I
Yep.
just grabbed this one on a whim because it was recommended, and I'm some three-quarters of the way through it. The author is called John Birmingham. The
Birmingham or Birmingham?
Birmingham with a B.
Okay.
Birmingham. Uh, the book is called Zero Day Code. It's only on Audible, and it's one of the free ones. I don't
Okay.
know if it's a primer to get into like the whole series, because there is a series.
Book one.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's an excellent read to
Okay.
get into. That is very updated.
Okay. I'm gonna
So,
check it
and it's
out. I'm
not
gonna.
post collapse, or it will be. It
Right.
is the process of the collapse. And just like when we were listening to Goodwin, and we're like, okay, Goodwin, we read this book from Goodwin. And as we're watching the headlines, as we're reviewing these books and talking about them, and we're watching the headlines and going, oh my God, that just happened in the book. And then we'd go back and say, this book is 10 years old.
Right.
Holy crap. And
Right.
then that will freak you out because you know what's happening next in the book.
Right.
Again, these are not all prophetic books. We're not saying that they are. Some may have some prophetic spots in it, but God can speak
Goodwin
just as
is
God
very
can speak
prophetic.
to you through his word. He can use other people's words to speak to you too. And the reality is, you and I needed to hear some things that we ended up reading in other books,
Yeah.
and the Holy Spirit captured onto us and said,
Exactly.
listen to this.
Exactly.
And so we did.
The number one first series, the number one first books, if you're going to jump into a Goodwin series, the Days of Noah. You need to look at the Days of Noah.
Oh, it's good.
I
Would
think it's
you
more.
be
I
afraid to
mean,
go to Forsham? The traditional preppers start is 1 second after,
yeah,
and that series. Most
That's not
preppers have
Goodwin
gotten
though.
started with that, but Goodwin is a Christ centered. There are scriptures involved.
Every chapter has a
He
verse
does
and a
not
quote.
shy away from adult situations, but you would never have to be afraid for your child to be listening
Right.
on
I
one
mean,
of his
apart
books.
from the fact that there's traumatic stuff happening. I mean, yeah,
There are
I
bad
mean, yeah,
things happening. He's not sugarcoating it, but he's also not making it purposefully edgy. He's not throwing in, rape scenes that
it's
don't need to happen. There isn't curse words. I don't think there's a single curse word in any of his books.
no,
Uh,
no, I don't think so. And
and
I
who
would
his
and I would
narrator is outstanding.
Yeah,
He
you
is.
gotta love
Well, he is
but
right.
that's Craven's
The
narrator
good
too.
one is, yeah, Goodwin has allowed some other narrators that I can't. I have a hard time
Yeah,
listening to. His
you don't
latest
like
series,
Gillenbosky.
Stacy
You don't like the
Goldboss.
girl. Yeah,
I just have a hard time listening to it. It
I
doesn't
like her.
work well for me. I can't track it. It's an excellent book that I just
Right.
can't get through. But
So
so
I want to talk about a specific prep that I think now it's near and dear to my heart. If you follow me on Instagram, Pastor Kirk Q2, you know that I do a lot of cycling these days. Okay, my brother Mike and I we were cycling today. We're doing a tune-up ride, getting ready for a 45-mile bike ride on Saturday. It's going to be dirty cold. It's going to be a gut punch. 45 miles. Okay, but part of it is in celebration. To my 2 years of weight loss journey and losing 165 pounds, and maybe a little bit more at this point. I don't know. I haven't been on the scale in forever. But part of it is just knowing that I can. Like I just need to know. I need to know that I can knock on the door of 50 miles in a day's worth of riding. And I would say that one prep that people are not paying attention to right now is getting a good, reliable bike and getting the fitness and the confidence to be able to ride it. Okay, I think that whether you're talking about an EMP that shuts down most vehicles, whether you're which guys listen, North Korea, Iran, Russia, three very viable enemies. They all have attack plans to use an EMP against America. Whether they do or they don't, I don't know. I'm not saying that saith the Lord, he's sending an EMP. But you've heard me say on this channel to prepare for an EMP a lot, because if you're prepared for an EMP, you're prepared for a myriad of collapses. But
Almost every situation.
we're looking at a massive diesel shortage, which will spiral into a massive gasoline shortage. So nobody's talking about that actually diesel is a byproduct of making gasoline. So like if you're short of diesel, you're actually short on other things. That's why I think it's a contrived emergency. But they're going to contrive
than regular gasoline. That's why but
right.
they're linked. They're
They're
linked and
linked.
related.
It's a process to create both of them together, right? And so they're going, I mean, there's a massive death shortage because of Russia,
Which is it's an expiring. They actually doesn't last that long. DEF is good for about 6 months, a year at most.
exactly. So
And I've
listen,
got over.
if things collapse, and I don't care what makes it, whether it's the dollar, financial collapse, like you'd read in Black Swan. Okay, if you read one of them, the Goodwin series is Black Swan is a financial collapse. Okay, cyber Armageddon is a cyber collapse. Whatever collapse you're talking about, there will be a shortage of fuel. Do you own a bike? Can you ride the bike? Can you get where you need to go? Can you trade and barter with your neighbors? Because you can get on your bike and ride to your neighbor's house. Whether or not it's secure, and the security aspects of riding a bike is a whole nother scenario. But like, just understand, like, owning a bike and having the fitness level that you get out and move your body to be able to ride an incredibly important prep. And let me ask you a question. I'm just going to tell you, a decent bicycle, not an excellent bicycle, a decent bicycle is going to cost you, if you go to this bike shop and buy a new one today. I was there today, $1,000. You're going to spend $1,000 on a decent bicycle. You can buy cheaper. They're not going to be great. Okay. But I'm just saying, so do you want to buy a bicycle that costs $1,000 with today's dollar or tomorrow's dollar? Like, so if you
Mine's
don't
going to
have
cost me about 30 cents if that.
well, okay. So, if you're gonna go take your neighbor's bicycle, that's another
Democrats
scenario.
love bicycles. They build these
Democrats
bike
do
lanes
love bicycles.
everywhere. They spend millions of dollars. Chances are, if you rob a guy on a bicycle, he's probably a Democrat. So it's okay.
So I'm just saying, get a bike,
The Pope will forgive you.
and go out and ride it. I mean, we did about, what did we do, 5 miles today? A little over 5 miles today. On terrain, it was single tracks. It was up and down and rocks and turns, and I mean, really good training for scooting through the woods. It's hard, and that was hard on trails. So like scooting through the woods without a trail would be very difficult.
How much can you carry on your bicycle?
Well, I'm gonna be changing some of that because
Transportation, but it's not a bug out. If you have to bug out on a bicycle, you're screwed.
I would disagree. I'm going to show you. My wife was
Better
just
off than
asking
on
me.
foot, but only by a little.
My wife was just
Most
asking me
bicycles
what I
are
want for Christmas. Just a
you able to show it?
yesterday. Yeah, I'm
A
going to pull
trailer
it up.
or
It's
car?
not a trailer. The trailer will come later. but this is a mounting system. Hold on a second, I'll pull
When
it up.
I
But
was young and poor, I used to use a car seat. Right? Remember if you're a Gen X or older, you
yep,
remember what child seats looked like on bicycles. You could
correct,
put all the stuff. You could put a pretty decent grocery haul in those.
correct. Yeah, you absolutely could. So I'm gonna click over to my screen right now.
I'm not gonna be able to see it, so you have to.
Oh, sorry, everybody. Well, something is wrong. Sorry, everybody.
Oh, that's right. Anyway, a bicycle is not a bad prep. Just think about your bicycle. So look at they all have load ratings.
Yeah,
Look at how much you weigh and how much you think you're going to carry, because just like tires are not all the same, bicycles are not all the same. Um,
I'll bring it up over here.
they're kind of expensive when it comes to um, seeking out something that would be good. I know
But
people
they're
that have
cheaper than
hunted up
horses.
bicycles. Well, and again, this is all very location specific, which is what we would say to you. You and I are nearly 4,000 miles apart. What works for you there sometimes works here. What works for me here sometimes works for you there. There is
Correct.
no 100% answer that works everywhere.
Correct.
Um, you need to analyze your location, your situation, as we're saying, your health. I mean, do you have two bad knees like me? Do you have slip discs? Do you have physical limitations? Um, you need to figure out what you're going to do for yourself. And I would just say, I think I started to say it earlier. As much as we disagree with a bug out, and we would tell you make sure you plan to bug in, you do need a bug out plan.
Correct.
And
Well, and you need a local, like, once things begin to, like, how are you dealing with, going and trading and things like that? I mean, like, there's a bug out, and then there's a
you need a
self-sufficiency.
transportation plan no matter what. Um,
So so
so that
this
still
is called
uses your
this.
same. It puts all the weight on your rear
Right. So
tire.
this and
Just
that
right.
that way you're not putting it on the forks, the front forks, right? This is where you want to
Yeah,
carry
you
weight.
want weight on the front.
So this is the Spider Rack, by a company called Aero, and not Aero Precision, that they make
No,
fine rifles. Aero, and that's so there's the Spider Rack. It comes with the cradle that holds the top piece. Then you can add
yeah,
the cradles that hold the side dry bags. I really, really, really want to get into bike packing. So just like backpacking, there's bike packing.
yeah. It's really
And
continental. Yeah,
I would really, really love to be able to do the whole Katy Trail next summer. I would love to bike pack. The Katy Trail is like 360 miles across Missouri, and I think it would be an absolutely awesome thing to get a bunch of preppers together and go, hey guys, we're going to go bike this trail. We're going to use our preps. We're going to use our skills. We're going to go across here, like set up an event. I'm just dreaming right now. I'm not making any commitments, but I'm just saying that I think it would just be a ton of fun to get local preppers. I know I'm not ever going to get Phil to come down from Alaska in the summertime to ride a bicycle. Like that's not our friend Phil. Like that's not something we're going to get him to do. He is allergic to heat and hay. Okay. So like, I mean, and Missouri there's a lot of heat and hay in the summertime. So
yeah. It's
yeah.
called misery for a reason. So we're wrapping up just a little over an hour here, plus whatever that ends up in the edit. We want to thank you again. This is episode 2 of season 2.
Yes.
You're just finding us. We're continuing to expand where this shows up. Don't be surprised if this after the fact shows up in some other platforms much
Right.
later.
Locals and things like that. Yeah.
We are wherever you find us, there are some paid followings, and
Hmm.
those paid followings have the history of old episodes.
Yeah.
Is maybe how you're finding this. Just know that if you're finding this somewhere for free, there is additional content somewhere else that you pay for.
And
And
you
we
could,
don't have
and if you enjoyed it and you
a
found
lot
it
of
for
it's 20
free,
bucks,
hit the
$5.
hit the like button. Like that would be
Yeah,
great.
share whatever the platform, they all have their own version of the exact same thing. Commenting is actually really helpful on nearly every single platform. So wherever you see this, feel free to comment something. If you disagree with us, I answered a couple of comments from last week's episode today. So we get in there every once in a while. And then, but anyway, all we're saying there is, you know, you can find us in lots of places. There are places where you can financially support us. I just lost a light. And then there's additional content is what we're getting at. We have a concept or a following that we call the bunker. It is for paid membership only. It exists in multiple locations where we show and talk about firearms and defensive firearms and or defensive weapons and offensive weapons, and we actually show some preps and some other things. There's lots of additional content, bug out bags and bug out vehicles and whatever else comes up. There's other content that you can reach if you
Right.
look.
Right.
But there is a small paywall there. I'm not taking any. Hopefully soon you're taking some to offset some of the costs, the direct costs associated with
eventually.
putting content out there. But I mean, if you want to send a bunch more money, feel free. There's other avenues to do that for both of us.
Right.
So with that said, thank you for watching. I
Holy
think that's it
smokes.
for this episode.
Yeah.
We're gonna get going. This should be out soon. We only record this 1 or 2 days ahead of time.
Yeah.
So assuming the world didn't collapse,
It'll be out tomorrow.
tomorrow for us and yesterday for you, you know, this is all still relevant.
Exactly. We don't want it going out. I mean, it's pre-recorded by hours, not days.
A
Like
day or
last
two,
week was,
sometimes
like
hours,
a
yeah.
day or two. So anyway, you guys are the best. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you for the support.
You.
Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for the financial support, being on Patreon or on Locals later. We
You can
really,
be
really
found on
appreciate you.
State Homestead. I can be
I
found on Purell Outdoor Alaska.
Yep.
If you search those terms, they start to come up with our other locations. You're on
Yep.
Instagram. I am not. I'm on Getter. I'm on Gab. I'm on MeWe. On all
There you
those
go.
other things. Rumble.
There you go.
You can find us other place. Locals. We're both on Locals now.
I'm gonna get real involved on Locals and Rumble here shortly.
I've got some cool coming out on Locals. Yeah.
So
Gun
love you
stuff.
guys. Get prepped.
Yeah. If it's not too late.